Shalom, brothers and sisters in Yeshua HaMashiach. Greetings, Nick Vanderlaan here. Today is the 15th day of the 7th month. It's the first day of Sukkot. It's October 3rd, 2018. This message is being broadcasted from Jerusalem, Israel. This video is titled Sukkot/Tabernacles, the Festival of Transfiguration, October 3rd through the 9th, 2018. So again, we are searching for the Resurrection Rapture Day, as this has been a process of elimination since seeing the September 24th sign in 2017. Some people call it the September 23rd sign, but is more accurately on the 24th. We are called to patiently watch, which consists of seeking Elohim and searching His scriptures. Watching and searching His scriptures is an edifying process, keeping us sharp and attentive so He won't find us asleep. I've never claimed any dates for certain, as I don't have a full understanding. My understanding is always in progress. The only people who know these dates and the unfolding of these events, I believe, are going to be Daniel and John, who are the two sons of fresh oil and the two witnesses. There has been a lot of truth unveiled on this channel in the comment section or in these videos, as iron sharpens iron, so all praise to Yah, hallelujah. And we're trying to hone in on that day. These are possibilities, people. These are not certainties. There's a big difference. We're watching. We are setting a watch. We are, is what Yeshua instructed us to do. And it's an edifying process. And it's even more edifying as we get closer and closer to that day. There's progressive understanding of the end time events. As that day, we're looking for that day that shineth more and more into that perfect day. As we see this day approaching, knowledge shall be increased. There's many scriptures that kind of hint that's what's going to happen. This is a process of elimination, as we have all the tools and the pieces of the puzzle, and we have the true solar calendar. We have the scriptures, Western, Eastern, and non-canon books. We have the Spirit of Truth, and we have the body of Messiah. So what I wanted to bring to your attention was regarding Sukkot. It looks like that Yeshua actually celebrated Sukkot at Mount Hermon, and we'll talk about that. There's a lot of people that have speculated on this, but here we have, if we follow Yeshua's steps from Matthew 15 down through Matthew 17, also with Mark and Luke, they also confirm these events. But he started departing from the coasts of Tyre and Sidon, which is a modern day Lebanon. Then he came nigh unto the Sea of Galilee, and then he sent the multitude away and took a ship and came to the coast of Magdala. And then the next part in Matthew 16:13, he came to the coasts or into the towns of Caesarea Philippi. And then next verse we get, Yeshua mentions how he needs to be back in Jerusalem right here, how he must go to Jerusalem. But that's in verse 21. But then now here in Matthew 17, we see that after 6 days Yeshua taketh Peter, James, and his brother John, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart. So a lot of people believe that the Mount of Transfiguration, where Yeshua transfigured, is actually Mount Hermon, which is where the 200 fallen angels entered in through some sort of portal there and came down onto Mount Hermon, and that's where they, according to Enoch, chapter 7 or 9. Okay, so many have speculated that Yeshua went to Mount Hermon, and that's where he was transfigured. There's a lot of clues that point out that it was Sukkot and Tabernacles. Many people have speculated this because Peter, James, and John asked Yeshua to build Moses and Elijah's sukkahs, which is happens on Sukkot. In Luke's account, he mentions a cloud that came down and overshadowed Peter, James, and John, and they feared as they entered into that cloud. So it doesn't say on what day of Sukkot this happened. I believe Luke's account mentioned sometime around the 8th day, but we'll revisit that. But considering that they offered to build sukkahs, according to Leviticus 23, I believe sukkahs are to be built on the 15th day of the 7th month. So this would have been the first day of Sukkot. So this is just a guess, okay? So not only was Yeshua transfigured, we see the arrival of Moses and Elijah, who are a type of the two witnesses, and I believe to be the prophet John and the prophet Daniel. Okay? Sukkot and Tabernacles is a pilgrimage feast of Yahweh according to Torah. So it is required for all males in the land to pilgrimage to Jerusalem for this festival. As I was considering this, it dawned on me that Mount Hermon is outside of Israel's boundaries, I believe. And as if you do a word search on Mount Hermon in like Blue Letter Bible or any other tool, you can read all the scriptures, but it seems to me it's clearly not part of the land of Israel. This means, of course, Yeshua was keeping Torah. He didn't have to come down to Jerusalem to celebrate that feast, and it probably wasn't his time yet to arrive into Jerusalem at the end of his ministry. He had to finish, he had to allow some more time to happen. So he actually left outside of the land so he would not violate Torah, and he came back after this festival. So the significance of Mount Hermon is where the 200 fallen angels also descended upon this earth in the book of Enoch, and they made a covenant there to do wickedness here on earth. So here's a map of one map of an interpretation of the area of the 12 tribes, and Mount Hermon is up in this area right up here, and this is later where I believe Dan went. Dan went from here, and then they came up here and settled in here. And here's another map of the same area. This is the Sea of Galilee. This is the Sea of Galilee right here. This is Lake Samachontis. This is Lake Samachontis right here. And when we read, you know, Yeshua, I believe, he came from here, and I don't know the exact route, but here's Caesarea Philippi right here. That's like the last part. Here's Magdala, but here's Caesarea Philippi. And this is definitely Caesarea Philippi. And then he came all the way up to Mount Hermon, way up here at the top, which would have been outside, again, outside of Israel's land. So he was not breaking Torah, and he purposely left to do that. So here's a spreadsheet, again, for my biblical anniversary calendar. There'll be a link in the description for this. You can see that, you know, if the event happens sometime tonight, you could see that yesterday was the last day when Yahweh's mercies ended, and this would have been the first day of this 7-year period. Again, it could have happened any of these times. Now, what else is interesting, very interesting, is that a lot of people believe that Yeshua was born on Sukkot because it says that he came and tabernacled among men, which actually that means that today is actually the memorial birthday of Yeshua, you would say. And he was then circumcised and named on the 8th day down here. But this actually would have been when the head came out, okay? And so he's the head and we are the body. So this actually could be, you know, a day of the birth of the body of Messiah, of the man-child. Actually, this could actually be the birth of the man-child right here. So that's something to consider. We have other significant days that events happening on this day. This is when Sukkot happened, or Jacob, he gave priestly garments to Levi to start as a priest. And what's interesting is it just so happens the lights behind me, they lit up the walls of Jerusalem, this pinkish purple that I use a lot, but it's like a priestly color, okay, I believe. What else? And so what happened was this was the start of Jacob's tithe sacrifice, and you can read about that in Jubilees. And I recommend everybody read about this in Jubilees. I had one commenter, I think it was like Mark Calley is his name, but he left several comments mentioning that this feast, the sacrifices in this feast, as the feasts go along, in the Feast of Sukkot and Tabernacles, it gets larger and larger. And he actually believes that this is going to be the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war, and as it escalates, it gets bigger and bigger, the more and more until the final. But that was, I guess, his speculation on that I thought I would share with you guys. I don't have a screenshot of the comment. Sorry, Mark, I usually, include those. And so there was also a future prophecy of Ezekiel yet to be restored, yet to be fulfilled, of a restored Israel keeping the 7-day feast of Sukkot. And so what's interesting is this festival is the festival that all nations will be required to send representatives to in the millennial reign. So I thought that's very interesting to consider as well. That's in the millennial reign. They're all, and if Egypt doesn't send it, they're going to get the plagues. Okay, so so we can watch, and then on the third day, this is when the Noah's Ark rested on the mountains of Ararat in Genesis 8:4, and so that was something as well to consider. And here we have again. On the 7th day of the festival, Haggai receives the word of Yahweh to Zerubbabel and Joshua and the remnant after 4 weeks of work, that the glory of the second temple will be greater than the first. And I believe the glory of the second temple was greater than the first because Yeshua was actually dedicated in that temple, right? And we got to consider some things here as well. How about the glory of the third temple, the millennial temple, okay, that we read about in Ezekiel, okay? And that is something to consider, the glory of that temple. How about the glory of that temple compared to the second temple and the first temple? Hallelujah. So, and then on the 7th day, Yeshua proclaimed torrents of living water, which is the Spirit for those who believe upon him. And then we can go ahead and look at the 8th day as well. And this is when Yahweh appeared to Jacob and reconfirmed his name Israel and reconfirmed his promises to him. Yahweh ascended, and a messenger descended with 7 tablets of the future of him and his sons throughout all the ages and what would happen to them. And then again, I believe that this is when Yeshua was circumcised and named on the 8th day. Now, last, what I want to bring your attention to is Ezra's Yom Kippur. This does not have a second fulfillment. I would recommend everybody read Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 1 to 3. And I was suspecting, we've all been going as this is a process of elimination, and we're looking at Yom Kippur as like a strong possibility, because there's a lot of things, because to make atonement, right, and to make an end of sin. And you believe that, that's what was prophesied in Daniel, what would happen, like on the last day of that 7-year period, or the 70 weeks, I should say, right, to make an end of sin. And you would think that making an end of sin would be on atonement. So I want to bring your attention to Ezra's Yom Kippur. Like I've been saying, this to me is a backstop for me. Not saying that it won't happen later on, but this is something to strongly consider here as well. But right now, just how, and we'll take a look at Ezra's Yom Kippur in a couple of days, and I'll map it out what it could possibly look like. But it's something. Tonight through here, this is the 10th day, so these are 10 days right here up to Ezra's Yom Kippur. That's just something to note. We have the Draconid meteor shower starting right here at the end of Sukkot while this is all going on. And I'll be making another video about some observations of Enoch's calendar and the position of the sun and the stars. So what's interesting is regarding Enoch's calendar is every single Sukkot, the stars will always be in the same exactly the same places in the sky every single year, because of how perfect the calendar is and how perfect of a cycle the calendar is. Same thing with the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when the children of Israel were leaving Egypt. If you look up at nighttime at the stars in the night sky are always the same. Now, I have yet to have time to take a look at Stellarium to see what's in the night sky, but right now, tonight, I know that I've been seeing, I forgot Sorry guys, but anyways, I don't want to edit this video. So, but anyways, so we have Ezra's Yom Kippur coming up, and I'll be making a video on that because that actually could be like a backstop if you know, um, considering that this could be, you know, the final battle here and whatnot. So here is Daniel's 70th week timeline again on Sukkot. I used this in my last video, I believe, on the day that Yahweh's mercies ended. I wanted to bring your attention. I made an update to this April 7th period. But what's going on here is, again, the 70th week could possibly start here. If it starts here, this is the 1,260 days. And again, if you put this in a date calculator, it won't add up because you're missing the 4 intercalary days per year for the season turnings, and then you're also missing the great sign, the leap day for the great sign or the spring equinox, or 2 leap days. So you can take a look at these dates into the future on my biblical anniversary spreadsheet. But this is the end of the 1,260 days. That means that the death of the 2 witnesses would be at sunrise at the Damascus Gate here in Israel, is where I'm guessing, if you haven't seen my video on the Damascus Gate prophecy that Yeshua gave. I believe that was a prophecy, and I believe the Ruach gave me the interpretation of that prophecy. I had no idea that was a prophecy. Hallelujah, all praise to Yah. Then that means that the Great Tribulation would begin at this day. This is also the time that the abomination of desolation is in Jerusalem. And the Damascus Gate, guys, is here in Jerusalem. They call it Damascus Gate because it goes out to Damascus. And again, wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction. So that's where Damascus is going to be destroyed in Isaiah 17. But there's even more to that prophecy, the interpretation of that prophecy that Yeshua, I believe the Ruach gave me, because if you go in through that gate, that's where all of the religious Pharisaic Jews go in, and that's where also all the Muslims go in through the Damascus Gate to the Temple Mount or to the Western Wall. And it says, many there be that go therein, that leads to destruction. They're all going to destruction. Why? Because they don't have Yeshua as the Mashiach, or that's if you're a Pharisaic Jew. But if you're Pharisaic Judaism, and then also it leads to destruction if you're in Islam, because you're praying towards Mecca on what they call the Temple Mount. Okay, but again, that would happen. The death of the 2 witnesses happens in Jerusalem. The abomination of desolation happens in Jerusalem, and then the flight in the wilderness. Okay, this is where I believe that the 144,000 virgin Israelite males will flee into the wilderness at this time. And I believe that it actually is the first day of unleavened bread, which is the same day Israel left Egypt, which is the 15th day of the first month, or April 4th, 2022. This just seems too perfect, right? Because Yahweh is cyclical many times, and for the flight of the wilderness to be on the same day that they left their flight out of Egypt was, I mean, come on, this is like unbelievable. And then then 3.5 days you have the 2 witnesses resurrecting around sunset. This is the same time and the same day Yeshua resurrected, and I believe that this is to the wedding supper. I believe that possibly here this is for the bride, and then this is for the guests of the wedding supper. They are going to be taken here, and this is on the 18th day of the first month. This is sunset April 7th. Now, what's interesting, someone asked, well, why do you think they're going to be giving gifts? Well, actually, this is when Islamic Ramadan is actually going on during this period. And Ramadan gift giving is usually the last 1, 2, or 3 days of that month. But considering it says in the scriptures, why? Is because of how the 2 witnesses basically plagued them. They're all celebrating. So everybody's going to celebrate when they see the 2 witnesses dying. It doesn't have to be Christmas or anything else. It just so happens it's going to be Ramadan, and Jerusalem is like the 3rd most holy site in all of Islam. And if the anti-Messiah, or what we call the anti-Messiah, but maybe the Assyrian Bashar al-Assad, or this Islamic, what are they looking for? The Mahdi. They're looking for the 12th Imam or something like that. That's who this person actually is. I don't believe this person is like a Jewish, like, antichrist person that like a lot of people have portrayed. I believe it's going to be Islamic, and this is the third holiest site. But if he comes here, right in here, and he has victory over them and puts up the mark of the beast, puts up the the image of the beast up and kills the two witnesses, I mean, this place will be going off because there's just so many Muslims here. So anyways, this starts the 1260 forward, and then the last day would be the 14th day of the 7th month. That would be the last day of this last period, and that is actually, again, according to Enoch, that was the day that 14th day of the 7th month is when Enoch received the vision that Yahweh's mercies ended. Now, I believe that, so that's something to consider. That means that that's it. That's the final judgment. It's done, or judgment of this particular age, not the second judgment, the Great White Throne judgment. That would be obviously later on. And then the following day after this would be Sukkot, when Yeshua would set up his millennial reign and tabernacle among men when on his birthday, if he was born on the first day of Sukkot. So this is something just to consider, guys. Again, Isaiah 66 verse 7, it says, before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. So the birth could precede the 70th week by a few days, or the birth could start and trigger the whole 70th week, right? And then war just starts to build up right after this. So we don't know. I'm signing off from Jerusalem. I hope you guys have a blessed Sukkot. Shalom.